Every day she walked past the guards, her heart pounding, hiding an act so forbidden it could have gotten her executed. While Rome's justice system demanded her mother starve to death, this daughter found a way to pour life back into her, drop by precious drop. How far would you go to save someone you love? This is the story recorded by Roman writers like Valerius Maximus around the year 30 CE and Pliny the Elder around the year 77 CE. A tale that would later echo through centuries of art as one of history's most striking images of devotion. It began in a cell where punishment meant starvation, and where each step the daughter took brought her closer to danger and discovery. Roman prisons were never meant to rehabilitate. They existed to confine, humiliate, and punish, and the Tullianum was infamous for its cruelty. The air was close and heavy, the stone walls weeping with moisture, and the floor slick beneath bare feet. Starvation was a form of punishment, a slow death sentence that became a living demonstration of Roman justice. This method was often used for certain crimes because it avoided the shedding of blood, which some Romans believed would displease the gods. Surviving accounts confirm this grim picture. Valerius Maximus tells the story as an example of pietas, the devotion of a child to a parent, while Pliny the Elder preserves it among his moving catalogue of human affections. The details differ. In some versions, a plebeian woman was jailed. In others, the characters shift into the father-daughter pair later celebrated in art. The sources do not agree on the crime, sometimes only stating she was shut away as punishment. What they do agree on is the unbearable reality of starvation as a sentence. Guards were charged with making sure no food slipped through the cracks, their inspections constant and ruthless. Her mother weakened quickly. By the third day, her lips split with thirst, and by the fourth, her body refused to rise from the ground. Death in those cells came not with a violent gesture, but hour by hour, as strength ebbed away. Visitors knew this. They rarely lingered. So why did this daughter keep returning, when even brief visits left others shaken? She came each day, while suspicion began to build. The guards wondered why she lingered, why her cheeks were flushed when she emerged from the shadows. They did not yet know what she carried with her, but their unease grew. The danger was constant. If caught, she could face the same sentence, left to starve in the cells, because Roman punishment could include deliberate withdrawal of food. And still, she kept coming. Every sound of boots on stone made her pause. Every flicker of torchlight on the damp walls threatened to give her away. Her persistence was more than love. It was defiance against a system that turned human bodies into warnings for others. Soon her visits became more deliberate, her preparations more careful, every detail of her clothing chosen with purpose. The acts themselves were simple, yet unspeakably bold. Each visit, the daughter offered her own milk to the mother who could no longer fend off starvation. What was usually a private duty between mother and infant became, in the shadows of the prison, an extraordinary reversal born of desperation. Ancient writers even ascribed special powers to human milk. Pliny lists medical uses. So to Roman eyes, the act could be seen not only as nourishment, but as a kind of medicine, a last remedy against death itself. Her mother's decline slowed. Skin that had been parchment dry began to soften with faint signs of life. The daughter measured every drop, careful not to weaken herself beyond recovery. The prison routine shaped their brief window of survival. Midday noise was her ally, the clang of chains, guards calling to each other, the scrape of new prisoners thrust through iron doors. She adjusted her position while chatter filled the air, her back angled against the cell's entrance. At first, her mother choked, body unaccustomed to swallowing. Soon they learned a rhythm. A tap meant footsteps near the stairwell. A squeezed hand meant she must drink quickly. But patterns left traces. The condemned woman was not dying as quickly as the guards expected. Their eyes tracked the daughter more closely. One noted she stayed for the span of a feeding. Another saw that she always left looking paler. She tried to mask their secret with shifting her clothing, but suspicion was hard to shake when every breath echoed against stone. Pliny and Valerius Maximus both say that when such scenes were witnessed, the onlookers were at first shocked. Some thought what they saw was against nature. Yet they also record how that first reaction turned. Shock gave way to recognition that this was not transgression, but pietas taken to its most extreme form. Later, artists would sometimes distort the moment with sensual overtones, but the original Roman tellers insisted it was a pious, selfless act. Still, secrecy could only last so long. A guard set a silent trap. As he crept back and the hinges rasped, torchlight spilled into the cell, and nothing would remain hidden. The guard shouted for backup, and within moments 2 more guards surged into the chamber, their torches casting jagged shadows across the stone. One seized the daughter's arm, leaving livid marks where his fingers dug into her skin. The mother tried to rise, but her body betrayed her, collapsing onto the pallet. "Explain this," one guard demanded, motioning to the daughter's disordered clothing. The air grew tight with unease. This was no ordinary smuggling case. Roman law knew how to punish those who hid food or sneaked wine into prison, but there were no rules for what the guards had just witnessed. They exchanged startled glances, words catching in their throats. One insisted the daughter should be accused of obstructing justice. Another pointed out that her mother had survived far longer than a starvation sentence allowed, proof that they were confronting something unnatural. Both women were dragged into the central hall to face questioning. The daughter braced herself for torture, expecting iron grips and burning rods. Instead, the old jailer studied her with a long, hard gaze. Finally, he asked, "You nursed her?" The daughter nodded once. A low murmur spread among the guards. What had looked like defiance now carried another name: pietas, the Roman virtue of loyalty to one's parent. By morning, the case had reached the praetor. Officials argued in session, some demanding severe punishment for undermining state authority, others insisting that such devotion deserved respect. Word spread fast. The city turned a private gesture into a public symbol. Crowds gathered, whispering at the doors of the curia. Before the verdict, imagine a pause, silence pressing in, the weight of judgment balanced on a blade. Then the ruling came. Ancient writers say the board of judges was so moved that the prisoner was pardoned outright, and Pliny adds that the family was supported with public funds from then on. The daughter avoided any penalty, though she left with an official warning. Versions of the story quickly multiplied. Some even claimed the jailer kept a relic as proof of what he had witnessed. Whether fact or flourish, Rome remembered. A desperate secret act had become civic drama. It forced the city to decide which deserved greater loyalty, the letter of its law or the power of love. The story did not fade once the prison gates closed. Recorded in the 1st century CE by Valerius Maximus and Pliny the Elder, it became a touchstone for centuries of artists and writers who struggled with its meaning. A temple of Pietas in Rome, and later Caravaggio's altarpieces, all kept the scene alive. Rubens and Poussin transformed it into a moral emblem, while others introduced a child to soften its impact. Even in modern literature, echoes remain. Steinbeck famously reimagined it in The Grapes of Wrath. This legacy shows why the episode never slipped quietly into history. It unsettled, inspired, and divided audiences. It was used as a symbol of devotion, politics, and religion. Its force lay in how hard it was to categorize, so I'll leave you with the same challenge ancient Rome faced. What would you risk for someone who gave you everything? Tell us in the comments.